now start studying test together with Rabash, Volume 1, Part 4. Chapter 6, Item 5. Before we begin, Rav said the following of the Rabash. I do not think that you will see any great difference between what you hear from me and what you'll hear from Rabash, but nonetheless, connect a little bit more to the upper one. That should give us more strength. I don't think you will see any great difference between what you hear from me and what you'll hear from Rabash, but nonetheless, connecting to the upper one a little bit more should add some power to us. And before we begin, let's read Item 5. Item 5. In Akudim, the vessels emerged from below upwards, the vessel of Malchut first and Keter last. It is the opposite of Nikudim, where the vessels emerged from above downward. Item 5. All 10 Sefirot emerged, but not all of them emerged together. First, the phase of Malchut from the world of Akudim emerged, the opposite of the world of Nikudim. Again. All 10 Sefirot emerged, but not all of them emerged together. First, the phase of Malchut from the world of Akudim emerged, the opposite of the world of Nikudim. Rabash.
לא, להתחלת הסרט. רייש ממחרת.
Item 5.
והנה כל היד ספירות יצאו.
All 10 Sefirot emerged, but not all of them emerged together. First, the phase of Malchut from the world of Akudim emerged, the opposite of the world of Nikudim. What's written here? That here, first emerges Malchut, while in the world of Nikudim, Keter emerged first. Let's see below, item 40, what he explains. 40. Meaning, in the world of Nikudim, the vessels preceded the lights. It is so because the vessels of Kachab, Za'abin, and Malchut first emerged from the records of Partzuf Sag. Afterwards, all the lights came to Keter. He gave Chokhmah 9 lights, Chokhmah gave to Binah 8 lights, etc., until Malchut received her lights last. However, in Akudim, the vessels were made by the refinement, as in the second look, when phase 4 was refined first and became the vessel of Malchut. After that, phase 3 was refined and became a vessel for Za'abin, etc. Thus the vessel of Malchut emerged first. Difficult one. Let's see what he says first. Here, Malchut emerged first from the world of Akudim, and in the world of Nikudim it was the opposite. It was the Keter first. So, he explains below in Open Me, Inner Light, he explains as follows. First of all, difficult to understand. How does light come to Malchut? It must pass through Keter. So how is it possible for the light to come first to Malchut and then to the Keter. And it is not so in the world of Nikudim. There, the light comes to the vessel of Keter and later to Malchut. According to what he explains below, it is as follows. In the world of Akudim, in the first Parzuf called Galgalta, which emerged from Keter to Malchut, Malchut did not receive anything yet, because there was a restriction, so Malchut cannot receive. But when does Malchut begin to receive? After she makes a screen, coupling by striking, and through that, the Sefirah is revealed. When we learn in Parzuf Te'amim, Parzuf of flavors of Parzuf Galgalta, which is called the level of Keter, there he says, there was a coupling over Malchut, where, in the place of Malchut, and by that emerges the level of Keter. And when the light shines in the vessel, we learned yesterday, the vessel is not apparent, not recognizable. Only after that, it's refined, Malchut rises to Zerampin, so the vessel of Malchut has no light, and then the vessel of Malchut is made. So, which vessel was revealed first? The vessel of Malchut, which had the coarseness of phase 4. And afterwards, it's shown in phase 3. And when phase 3 departed and Malchut rose to Binah, then the vessel of Zerampin remains empty as well. And then the vessel of Zerampin is fashioned, the coarseness of phase 3, until finally it's refined of the coarseness of Shoresh, root, and then the vessel of Keter is fashioned. So it follows that if I speak about who receives all the degrees, not the first 9, only Malchut receives, or Malchut of phase 4 receives, or Malchut rose to Zerampin and she receives, and what's from her above she receives, until coarseness of Shoresh, root, which is called the coarseness of Keter. So it's not the Keter receiving there. Who is receiving? Malchut, who has the coarseness of Keter. That is called Keter. She receives, entirely refined, pure. So he divides this into 2 looks, 2 observations. Why are there 2 such looks in Parzuf Galgalta? Let's talk about that now. One over the tastes, flavors, tamim, and the second one on the nekudot, dots. So it follows that there was the second look, and every time there was a coupling on the aspect of nekudot, dots, and it was refined, and by that the rest of the vessels were revealed to us. Accordingly, I should say that after the entire Parzuf Galgalta, the entirety of Parzuf Galgalta was refined, we now have vessels. If so, what do we need to learn now? That Parzuf Ab there came light, or within the vessel of Keter, not the vessel of Malchut. Why? We already have vessels. And here, what does he say? It's the opposite of the world of Nikudim, meaning that the world of Akudim, called Galgalta Absag, it's not yet understood that we have vessels. But in truth, what do we learn? That we have two routes. One route to the vessels, which is revealed the first time. That was in Parsuf Galgalta, where it was all Keter in the vessel of Keter. And that's why when we speak of the vessels in all the Parsufim, we begin with Keter Chochma Bina. And the first route where the light emerged and entered the vessels, that was in Parsuf Ab, when the vessels were prepared. Therefore, when we speak of the lights, the first light that was revealed was the light of Chochmah in the vessel of Keter. After we speak of the vessels, we begin with Chabad from Chochmah, not from Keter, and here it means specifically Nikudim, from Nikudim. And we always learn from Ab. And also, according to what he explains, we can also talk about Ab. Yes, from Ab. But in a different place, he says that in the world of Akudim, there are no vessels yet. We only have one vessel. And 10 vessels were made in the world of Nikudim. Perhaps that's what he means. It's unclear. In part 5, item 35, there he says, however, the existence of touching and not touching, we need to explain well what it means. And we say that at first the light starts coming to Keter, and all the 9 lights are included in it. And it's written there that afterwards it returns to the aspect of not touching in Keter. The light returns from there, departs from there, the light that came to Keter, but the other 9 lights remained in Keter, because there is a power in the Keter to tolerate them. And then, when it's not touching in the Keter, the light of Aleph, the light that belongs to the Keter, it wasn't there, but rather remained from Chochmah and below. Then it extends Keter over Chochmah, panim bepanim, face to face, the 9 lights, and gives in Chochmah. And so what do we see? That here he says that there were prepared vessels, the light came to Keter and then to Chochmah, and here he says actually, well, from here we mean specifically from Nikudim. That's what we understand. Therefore, he found it a bit difficult. Item 6. This Malchut, item 6. This Malchut first emerged as merely the phase of Nefesh.
What no Malchut?
What? He says, here, in the world of Akudim, Malchut emerged first. That's what he says. The discernment of Malchut emerges from the world of Akudim. So he says, this Malchut, which emerged first, emerged as merely the phase of Nefesh alone. For there is no Sefirah that does not have Naran, as is known. Rather, now they emerged only in the phase of Nefesh. Thus, Malchut first emerged in the phase of Nefesh. Then, when the phase of Yesod emerged, only the phase of Nefesh appeared in Yesod for itself. But illumination was added in Malchut, where the phase of Ruach appeared. So this is in item 6 again. 6. This Malchut first emerged as merely the phase of Nefesh alone. Continuing. For there is no Sefirah that does not have Naran. What of Chaya, Yechida? It doesn't say. Rather, now they emerged only in the phase of Nefesh alone. Thus, Malchut first emerged in the phase of Nefesh. Then, when the phase of Yesod emerged, only the phase of Nefesh appeared in Yesod for itself. But illumination was added in Malchut, where the phase of Ruach appeared. By the revelation of the discernment of Nefesh in Yesod, it's as if Nefesh in Yesod illuminates to Malchut, shines to Malchut with the discernment of Ruach. Continuing. 7. The reason for it is that since Ruach comes from Vak, from Zerampin, as we know, therefore, when Yesod came, the phase of Ruach began to manifest in Malchut. But what? It is not entirely completed before all the Vak emerged, which are one discernment, in which are 6 discernments. And if so, we divide the Ruach into 6 discernments, and so it doesn't have the entirety of Ruach until it receives all these 6 discernments, which we discern in Zerampin. Meaning, from Yesod to Chesed, at which time, when Chesed was revealed in Zerampin. So, if I say that the Nefesh was revealed there in Zerampin, it shines to Ruach shines to Malchut, then when does it have Ruach? And so the entire phase of Ruach of Malchut is completed. After the Nefesh is revealed, which is called Chesed in Zerampin, from this Nefesh, Malchut receives Ruach. However, when they were revealed slowly, it wasn't that way. When each of them comes, only one edge from the phase of Ruach appeared in Malchut. First Yesod, then Hod, and this is, as he says, item 8. It is already known that Yesod is not a part of Vak. What we say that Zerampin has 6 discernments, 6 discernments, indeed it has only 5. As we always learn, there are no more than 5 discernments. And what is Yesod? This is what he says, and I deliberately repeat this. 8. It is already known that Yesod is not a part of Vak, for there are only 5 Chasadim from Chesed to Hod. But Yesod does not take a particular Chesed for himself. What then? Rather, all 5 edges are included in him. Thus,
When
the light of Ein Sof comes to the vessel of Zerampin, and we say that Yesod, from Yesod, the discernment of Ruach was made for Malchut. The general phase of Ruach is what appeared in Malchut when Yesod came. Yet, when Hod or Netzach emerged, or any of the other Sefirot, the actual edges of Ruach appeared in Malchut. Now he says a thing in particular, make more specific, the fact that we said and explained that the light of Zerampin shines in the vessel of Zerampin, which is only Nefesh, and we learned that everything emerges in the discernment of Nefesh, but Nefesh of Zerampin, where Zerampin in general is called Ruach. To his Nefesh, the discernment of Ruach was added to the Malchut, but since Ruach has 6 discernment, the discernment of Ruach was not completed for Malchut until all the discernments of Zerampin were completed for Zerampin. That's one. This is simple. And then he adds a rule. Know that there are no more than 5 discernments, also called 5 chasadim. And when we say that Yesod, Yesod it includes them. As I said, it's an allegory about that. If I have 5 kinds of vegetables, cucumbers, tomatoes, onions, let's say olives, let's say 5 discernments. Each discernment unto itself is an entity. It's something with a different flavor. But later, when you make a salad, when it's a salad, it's an entirely different thing. So the question is asked, what did you add to the salad? If I say, I heard that there's salad, I'll put I'll give you 5 vegetables. I want salad. That's what I heard. Then you wanted, I got the salad, I look at it, I don't see any salad. It's again the same 5 vegetables that were on the table. You chop them up one after the other, put them in one plate, but what about the salad? The salad is nothing special, it's just everything together. That's what he says. It's not that the Yesod is a thing, a name, an entity unto itself. No, all the 5 discernments are included in it. Why is this? He doesn't explain here. That's what he says here. Yesod, it takes all these individual things to itself, but being included with all of Yesod, these are the 2 things he explains.
The question is, how do we say that before he attains the Yesod, that's included of everything that's above it, when I say that the upper one only has only the Yesod, how can the upper one receive or acquire the Yesod before? It's included of what? If there's something, some object, I can say that it's included of it. But as we learned, the lights come from Keter. They must come from Keter. And I say that Keter is called a kli, a vessel. But it comes from Keter first, and then to Zerampin. And as we learned yesterday, then the light of Ruach comes to the vessel of Keter. And then when the light of Neshama comes, then Ruach descends to the vessel of Binah. And after the light of Chaya comes, then the Ruach descends to the vessel of Zerampin. You find that when the vessel of Chokhmah had Ruach, I'm asking, did it have all the discernments, all the phases?
אז אני יכול לומר בזמן שבאים
I can say that when they come to
זרענפין מקודם
Zeranpin,
כבר נאמרו כמו שכל הרוח כבר היה מגיע לי בכתר
I can say that when it comes to Zeranpin, before there was a general and then all the particulars. Now we have to say that all the Ruach was revealed in the Keter. Again, we learned now that the light of Ruach, which is the light of Zeranpin, which is only the light of Nefesh, but the light of Nefesh, which is Ruach, we should also discern 6 discernments in it. What it means is that as it begins to be revealed in Zeranpin, as if before there was a Yesod of Nefesh, let's say, and then Hod and Netzach, and so on and so forth, from Yesod up to Chesed, then he said, according to the order that they come to Zeranpin, the same order they shine to the Malchut. So where was the Yesod before that, this of Zeranpin, this Ruach in general? You have to say in Keter. Except we asked in the Keter, how did it come? If there it also came from the Yesod, or there it came from Chesed in the beginning. If we say in the light, we don't discern a complete quality that only the lower one had this, give us the ability to attain. We can attain, we begin from this first and then the other. But he's not speaking of those details. What does he say? That when it comes and reveals the light of Nefesh in Keter, meaning the light of Ruach, then we must say that it already has all 6 discernments there. Therefore, there's no question about Zeranpin. It receives what the upper one has, except on something else he's not speaking. Inner light, item 50. What does it say above? The words of the Ari. Then when the phase of Yesod emerged, only the phase of Nefesh appeared in Yesod for itself. Below, inner light, 50. Though the light of Yesod is Ruach, it still has only a part of Nefesh of Ruach. Because each phase comes to Keter. When each phase comes to Keter, there is only Nefesh in it. Also, each phase has only Nefesh of its own phase in its own place, and receives the rest from the vessels it passed through. Here in item 50, he explains 2 observations, or 2 discernments. One, the light of Yesod is Ruach. It still has only a part. Yesod is as a part of Zeranpin. If I'm saying that Zeranpin is called Nefesh from the quality of Ruach, from the phase of Ruach, then what do you have in Yesod? A part of Nefesh in Ruach. 1/6. Furthermore, he interprets, why, if this is Ruach, why do I call it Nefesh? So he explains it in the following way. The light that comes, we learned, they all emerged on the quality of Nefesh, the degree of Nefesh. It turns out that when you had only the light of Nefesh in the vessel of Keter, what did you have in the vessel of Keter? Nefesh. When the light of Ruach comes to a vessel of Keter, what did you have in the vessel of Keter? Nefesh. When the light of Nefesh descended to the vessel of Chokhmah. What did you have in the vessel of Chokhmah? Nefesh. We say that when Nefesh descends to the vessel of Chokhmah, there's Nefesh. Ruach of Nefesh? No. Since it passed from vessel of Keter, then it receives from the place it's passing through which it's passing. But what do we have in Chokhmah? Nefesh. Later, when the light of Neshama comes to the finest vessel, the Keter, what do we have in it? Nefesh. It turns out that the Ruach that was in the vessel of Keter that descended to the vessel of Chokhmah, it was only Nefesh. There was no more than that. However, what was revealed in Keter is shining there. It's passing through it. It's in its own place of Chokhmah, it only has Nefesh of Ruach. But once it passed through the vessel of Keter, it reveals what it passed through. That I'm saying now that there's Nefesh Ruach of Ruach. Similarly, light of Nefesh was in the vessel of Chokhmah. Now, that the light of Ruach descended to the vessel of Chokhmah, the light of Nefesh descended from the vessel of Chokhmah to the vessel of Binah. What do we have in the vessel of Binah? Nefesh of Nefesh, no more. Now, if we have Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama of Nefesh, it's because of the vessels that it's passing through. From that, it has it. But in the quality, in the place itself, there's no more than Nefesh. Therefore, it turns out that when the light of Ruach comes to the vessel of Zeir Anpin, what does it have? Also, not more than its own degree, Nefesh of Ruach. And the rest is according to what it's passing through. We have to go over it again in the inner light. 50. Though the light of Yesod is Ruach, not Nefesh Ruach, you say, it still has only, in the Yesod, only one part of Nefesh of Ruach. But why is it called Nefesh? Next. Because when each phase comes to Keter, there is only Nefesh in it, and in all of them, only the quality of Nefesh emerges. Also, each phase has only Nefesh of its own phase in its own place, and receives the rest from the vessels it passed through, but of its own quality it has only Nefesh. Therefore, it turns out that the vessel of Zeir Anpin had only Nefesh from Ruach, and Yesod is only a portion of Nefesh of Ruach. There's another quality that passes through them. It's only because of incorporation, as it interprets here. I say Ruach. This is Vak. 5 degrees are Yesod. But what shines in Ruach? What shines in those 6 points I'm asking? Only the light of Nefesh. Although you have Vak, called Ruach, but the light there is only Nefesh, and not more than that, just like in the example. When I say that the light of Neshama comes, Neshama is called 10 Sefirot of Binah, but in all those 10 Sefirot, there is no more than Neshama. You have to take that into account. What is the difference when I say Bina or when I say Zeir Anpin? Bina has all 10 Sefirot. We say that if there's no innovation, there's nothing to talk about. Whereas Zeir Anpin, when I'm saying that it's incorporated of everything, it doesn't have it in wholeness. Only in Zeir Anpin, a smaller parzuf. That's why I discern there are 6 degrees. Now, what shines in those 6 degrees? It could be the light of Nefesh, it could be Ruach, like Nefesh of Ruach, Ruach of Ruach, Neshama of Ruach, even Yichida of Ruach can shine there. So what are you asking about? I don't understand. It's clear now? What's written above? The words of the Ari. But the illumination was added in Malchut, where the phase of Ruach appeared. To whom? Nefesh of the Yesod. Item 60, below, inner light. When Ruach is drawn to the degree, well, what is the order? It is drawn in the vessel of Keter, right, as we learned. Then Nefesh descends to the vessel of Chokhmah, and the root that she left in Keter becomes Ruach of Nefesh for her. Ruach has 6 edges, Ruach of the Yesod of Zerampin, as it is regarded, 6 parts. Therefore, Ruach too is divided into 6 degrees, Chagat Nei, when Yesod comes from Vak of Ruach to the vessel of Keter. Nefesh acquires the general Ruach of Nefesh. What does it say here? It says here specifically, explicitly, that Keter also receives the Yesod before everything, and only later the rest of the higher parts. The question is, as we discussed earlier, you can see it explicitly. Ruach has 6 edges, as it is regarded as Zeranpin. Therefore, Ruach too is divided into 6 degrees, Chagat Nei, as it explains. Therefore, when Yesod comes from Vak of Ruach to the vessel of Keter, Nefesh acquires the general Ruach of Nefesh. Where does it come from? He doesn't specify here. It's simpler to say, here they finally speak of the bodies. We have to remember. Speak of the vessels, they speak of the bodies. Who they receive from? The Rosh. I would say in the Rosh there is everything. When the Yesod arrived from Vak of Ruach to the vessel of Keter of the Guf, it obtains the Nefesh obtains the general, or the entirety of the Ruach of Nefesh. And he says that when the light of Yesod came out of the Guf, they speak of the Guf. Illumination was added in Malchut, where the phase of Ruach appeared. Also afterwards, when the light of Bina comes to the Guf, you find that Malchut receives from it the light of Neshama. Zeranpin receives from it only Ruach. In that case, what does it say here? Every degree receives something from a degree higher than it. From here, it turns out that after the light of Yechidah was revealed in the vessel of Keter, the Malchut also receives Yechidah of Nefesh. And Zeranpin Chayav Ruach. And Neshama receives Neshama of Neshama. And Chaya receives Ruach of Chaya. According to the calculation that we mentioned earlier. What does it say in 70 above? The words of the Ari. It is not entirely completed before all the Vak emerged, meaning from Yesod to Chesed, at which time the entire phase of Ruach of Malchut is completed. 70 inner light. Zeir Anpin is but one phase of the above four phases, namely phase 3. However, there are 6 edges in it called Chagat Nehi. Thus, the light of Ruach is completed only after its clothing in these 6 vessels. It is said that the illumination of Ruach that Malchut receives from Zeir Anpin is not completed before all its 6 edges appear. As then Zeir Anpin is completed. He doesn't say anything here that we haven't learned previously. 80. What does it say? 80 above? Item 8. There we go. It is already known that Yesod is not a part of Vak. So there are only 5 Chasadim from Chesed to Hod. But Yesod does not take a particular Chesed for himself. Rather, all 5 edges are included in him. Let's see 80. Item 80, it says, there is an original concept here that we must thoroughly grasp. Indeed, there are no more than 5 phases in every 10 Sefirot. These are the root, called Keter, and the 4 phases, Chokhmah, Binah, Zeir Anpin, and Malchut. These 5 phases are discerned even in the direct light itself, as it is written in part 1, where we distinguish 6 Sefirot Chagat Nehi here in the 3rd phase, not because there is any addition here to the 5 phases. And if that's the case, why are you saying 6? But because there are special discernment of these 5 phases in terms of their incorporation in Zeir Anpin. The 3 Sefirot Kachab contained in Zeir Anpin are diminished in him into the 3 Sefirot Chagat. Here we need a bit of an introduction. Elsewhere he says, in truth, there's no more than Keter, Chokhmah, Binah, Zeir Anpin, Malchut. However, each phase is incorporated with the other Sefirot. You find that Keter is everyone in everyone, Chokhmah is included in everyone, and so on and so forth. If that's the case, we ask the question, why don't we discern the Keter, Chokhmah, Binah, their incorporation? We only speak of their object in and of itself. For example, let's take the quality, the Sefirah of Binah. It's included of Keter, of Chokhmah. Why do we take Binah? This is the phase in and of itself. And what's included of Zeir Anpin and Malchut, another 7 Sefirot, Binah has 10 Sefirot. So we say, if there's no innovation, meaning the light, the way it shines in Keter of Chokhmah, it shines in Binah. The light that shines in Zeir Anpin similarly shines in Binah. There's no innovation here. Therefore, we take this all as a single phase. But in truth, there are 10 Sefirot there, except we don't mention it. Now, why in Zeir Anpin we do mention it? In Zeir Anpin there's an innovation. What's new? It invented something new from the light, something that was not revealed beforehand. Meaning, the Anpin is included of Keter, Chochma, Binah, but in the Anpin it doesn't shine like the way it shines in Keter, Chochma, Binah. Only in Zeir Anpin, smaller. That's a new thing, it's a new invention, a new action. That's why we mention it. Turns out that when Zeir Anpin is included in Keter, Chochma, and Binah, since it was diminished, since they receive only in Zeir Anpin, they received new names, Chagat. Next. What is it, the phase itself? Netzach. And what's included of Malchut is Hod. In that case, there are no more than 5 Pchinot. As he says here, look at the first line. The 3 Sefirot Kachab contained in Zeir Anpin are diminished in him into 3 Sefirot Chagat. And the Sefirah of Netzach in him is its own phase, and the Sefirah of Hod in him is the incorporation of Malchut in Zeir Anpin. And the reason for the double discernment of 5 phases, specifically in Zeir Anpin, and in the rest we do not discern these 5 phases of the incorporation. It's very interesting. There's the entire light received in the Partzufim is regarded as 2 phases, the light of Chochmah and the light of Chasadim. And the difference between them is indeed great. We learned about this in part 1, chapter 1. And they are also called light of Gar, called Chochmah, and light of Vak, called Chasadim. Why? Because the light of Chochmah is only distinguished in the 3 upper Sefirot, Keter, Chochmah, Binah, which are Yechida, Chaya, Neshama. However, in Ruach of Nefesh, which are Zeir Anpin and Malchut, in Ruach Nefesh, which are Zeir Anpin and Malchut, there is merely light of Chasadim, even in their Gar. They have no more than the light of Chasadim in the illumination of Chochmah, as it is written in the Zohar. The head of the king is corrected in Chesed and in Gvura. Since the first 3 Sefirot of Zeir Anpin Kachab are merely light of Chasadim, we therefore have a special distinction of the first 3 phases, as they are merely the light of Chasadim. It therefore turns out that we have 2 kinds of the first 3 phases, either from the light of Chochmah or from the light of Chasadim. When the first 3 phases are discerned as the light of Chochmah, they are discerned by the names Keter, Chochmah, Binah. And from the perspective of their being discerned as the light of Chasadim, they are discerned by the names Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, meaning in Zeir Anpin.